Okay, I'm over here by the lighthouse on St. Simons, out here by the Sound, St. Simons Sound. This is also a camp that was set up for the Spanish-American War that lasted from 1888 to 1889. They had a battery set up here on Jekyll Island on the north end and the south end, and they had one set up right here on St. Simons called Camp Gordon. But they had two temporary camps set up over here, one on the south end and one to the east over here to guard the channel, the opening of the channel from the Spanish-American War. But it was set up right here by the lighthouse. One camp, Camp Gordon, was set up right here by the lighthouse, and the other one set up down there by the pier. 99, a hurricane destroyed both batteries on Jekyll Island, also this one, so they basically had to abandon it after that. And the war was over in 1899. The Spanish-American War didn't last long, so the camp over here on St. Simons was only here maybe a year. There's the lighthouse there, and the camp was probably just spread out all the way down here, just near the battery so they could fire to protect this entrance to the port right here. And this is Camp Gordon, which is in Neptune Park. You can see the pier there to the left. On the bottom, that's the St. Simons Pier. The library's there, the visitor center, the pool, the mini golf. That's where Camp Gordon was. They actually took a picture from the lighthouse facing towards the village. And it was a tent city, basically where the soldiers came in from North Carolina. But this is a satellite view what it looks like today. This is where the second battery is located, the second camp for the Spanish-American War camp from 1898 to 1899. And again, this was also damaged by the war, hurricane of 1899. In the Spanish-American War, by the lighthouse, which the lighthouse is right over, you can see it right there. This was Camp Gordon, one of the camps that was here for the Spanish-American War. It was a tent city camp protecting the channel out here between St. Simons and Jekyll. Okay, I'm over on the St. Simons Island Pier and looking at the north end of Jekyll Island. The cannon mounts, the northern cannon mounts were mounted over here during the Spanish-American War, were either from this tip all the way down to this area. Because you go past that wooded area to the left, there's swamp. So they had to be between this area right here. Either they're washed away over time or they're in the woods. Okay, I'm standing in Neptune Park over here by the pier. Here's the ocean, here's the pier here. And this is where the site was for the Camp Gordon for the Spanish-American War camp here, Camp Gordon, right here in this area. They had like the North Carolina Regiment was stationed here. They came in by boat, probably right here, and there probably was a pier here at the time. And they probably just all camped in this area right here. This whole area, you see where the playground is, where this open area is, where the library is, casino, all the way over there to the pool was all Camp American War. They never saw any action, but this is where their camp was because the artillery was over that way. Just imagine all the tents out here preparing for war. They never saw any action because the Spanish were defeated in the Manila Bay and lost the war, so this didn't last very long. But this whole camp, including the one over here on Jekyll Island, were destroyed during the hurricane in 1899. This also was downtown Brunswick was destroyed too as well, but they just abandoned the camp. They didn't need it anymore, so they just basically left it here. And then Camp Gordon was on the south end. I'm about to tell you about another camp that was further east over here, Camp Baker. But a lot of sight would have been to see Camp Gordon back in the 1890s, late 1890s, 1898, 1899. But this is where they were, right here in this area, all the way down this way to where the village area is in Neptune Park. Yep, general area where Camp Gordon was during the Spanish-American War. Amazing, because the old casino was like right here in this area, the original casino. This is what the ship looked like. It brought in the North Carolina Regiment that was stationed at Camp Gordon on St. Simons Island. This is where the picture of the boat they were brought in on. This is a picture of the locals, including the Waycross colony, taking care of the soldiers that were stationed at Camp Gordon during the Spanish-American War. This is the tent city I told you about that was in Neptune Park that held the Spanish and American War soldiers that were stationed on St. Simon's Island. This is Camp Gordon. This picture was taken from the lighthouse. As you could tell, the view is looking back towards where the village area is today. You can see in the background, at the bottom of the picture, that's where the Waycross colony was. So this is real interesting what this looked like at today. Where this tent city was is in Neptune Park, where the library is, the swimming pool, all that area right there. Okay, this is the area where the Spanish-American War artillery is set up over on St. Simon's. Here's the village here. And this is the area they had the artillery set up all the way down here to the Sea Island Golf Course. This is way down there. But they had the artillery, the cannons, the 200-pounder, 100-pounder cannons set up along this coastline here to protect the Port of Brunswick, which is further up past the Sealing Bridge. But these ships are coming here, but the cannons were like dug into the earthworks all up and down this area right here. This between the village and Sea Island Golf Course. Okay, this is the area I just showed you that's between the pier. You see the pier to the far right, and you see the golf course to the far left. This is where that artillery cannons today is present day houses. So that's pretty cool. This is what the cannons actually look like. If you can see over there to the right, that's like the cannon mount that's over there on Jekyll Island. These are the 200 and 100-pounder cannons they used on the shore to attack any ships that were coming in the harbor. These were set up over here on the between the pier, the present day pier, and the Sea Island Golf Course, and also on the north and south end of Jekyll Island. Okay, so I'm on the east side of St. Simon's. Here's Sealing Bridge there. The area where Camp Baker was located during the Spanish-American War. There was two camps. There's Camp Gordon up there by the lighthouse area, and there was another camp over here. A lot of people don't know about Camp Baker, and it was probably stationed up here where these houses are, or along this line here to watch the coast on this side. But they never saw any action. The hurricane of 1899 destroyed the camp, so they just left. But this is where Camp Baker was during the Spanish-American War. Camp Baker was on the east side of St. Simon's, so more than likely it was right here where it curves, where you see it written, somewhere between on Ocean Boulevard and that area there, possibly near where Delegau's Fort was. Pretty good information. And I'm looking at the Dino area, the village area, the library area over on St. Simon's. This is where Camp Gordon during the Spanish-American War, probably over here from where the pier, where present day pier is, all the way over here to where the playground is and the swimming pool. Because there was a picture taken from the lighthouse that's over here, and it went in pretty deep, and they were actually over this way too, because the artillery was over here, the shore artillery was over this way. And this is the north end where the cannon mounts possibly could have been, speculated to have been. I showed you from the St. Simon's Pier. Okay, this is where the cannon mounts were on the south end of Jekyll Island, still located there today in the woods off Macy Lane. These were put here to protect the St. Andrews Sound at a crossfire with Cumberland Island. So these are still today. If you want to see them, you got to find Macy Lane and follow the trail and you'll find them. Okay, I'm at the corner of St. Andrews Drive and Macy Lane over here on Jekyll Island. And this is the entrance to the trail right here. You can park right in here and just basically walk down this trail. Do you see that green sign down there? See that green sign? Not that green sign. Okay, Noah and I are here at the Macy Lane. This is Macy Lane and St. Andrews, the intersection right here. There's a little part right here. We're gonna go see the cannon mounts. The Spanish-American War cannon mounts that were placed here in 1898 to protect the coast and Jekyll Island and St. Simon's, Cumberland Island from the Spanish, because it was during the Spanish-American War. But this was part of Camp Gordon and Camp Barker over on St. Simon's, but this was an outpost they put. So if you want to come here, you see this sign, and you walk right behind and go up this little hill right here. But there was during the beginning of the Spanish-American War, they put troops over on St. Simon's over there by the lighthouse and on the east side. And then they also put two batteries over here, one on the north and one on the south. And this is the one on the south. The one on the north is Bleed the Road Away. We're not really sure though. Okay, today I'm out here at the cannon mounts on the south end of Jekyll Island. They were put here for the Spanish-American War to protect the coast of Jekyll, Cumberland Island, and St. Simon's. Based between the Cumberland and St. Andrews Sound over there. But the war, Spanish-American War, lasted from 1898 to 1899 and only lasted 3 months. So the United States had to scramble and put defenses everywhere they could. So they put these here to protect the coast in Georgia. They made they had 2 camps on St. Simons. The main camp was called Camp Gordon, and they had a camp on the east, which was called Camp Barker. The camp on the south end was near where the present day lighthouse, the library, and the casino was called Camp Gordon. In the village area, they placed their artillery between the village and Retreat Plaza. Between the village and Retreat Plantation, which is that area where the pier is over to where the golf course is. That's where they had it. But in 1899, a hurricane came through this area and destroyed the camp over here where I am standing now on Jekyll Island, and the one on St. Simons. And after that, they basically abandoned it because the war was over. And that's also the same hurricane that flooded Brunswick and destroyed a lot of stuff in downtown Brunswick as well. So what do you think about something that's from the 1890s? Well, actually late 1890s, almost 1900s. Dude. Okay, now we've arrived at the Spanish-American War cannon mounts over on Jekyll. I've done a video on this before, but I'm gonna do them again. Right here was closer to the beach. Now these cannon mounts are 800 feet from the beach, because over time the sand shift and erosion, moving the sands moved it further away. You gotta remember that's late 1898. Look at these. They held 100 and 200 pounder cannons. Those are the big field artillery for the coast. And they put 2 over here and 2 over on the north end. But like I said, these held 200 pounder or 100 pounder cannons. That's why these carriages are so big. But this was a lot closer to the ocean. Like I said, over time the sands move, and they put and the sand moves and everything grows, and it was probably clear from here to the ocean, because straight ahead where I'm looking at this is the cannon mounts. The ocean was straight ahead. Never noticed these structures on there before, these under there, but look at this. They could tell they had to use like a big rod to move it up and down. It's on this concrete platform. Got the wheels in the back, the pivot. This is a Civil War era cannon. See that? Huge cannons were mounted on here, 100, 200 pounders. Same thing with that one. Okay, the War Department in 1898 made a deal with the Jekyll Island Club to put cannon mounts, 10-inch Civil War era Parrott cannons. Parrott, like the bird. Cannons over here on Jekyll Island. And they were installed in 1898. Again, they had the cannon set up on St. Simons, of course. Over on Jekyll, they had one on the north end, but just probably rode it away, or we're not sure where it is. And they had these on the south end, which these on the south end where I'm standing now were used as crossfire for Cumberland Island, which is Cumberland Island's right over there. And it was to protect the St. Andrews Sound. On May 17th, 1899, the cannons themselves, they took the cannons off here and left the carriages. They kept the cannons, but the carriage was too much to take apart, too much effort, so they just left them. Okay, so they removed the cannons themselves, the cannons from these 2 mounts on May 17th, 1898. They haven't found anything else around here but just these cannon mounts. They didn't find any evidence of their tents or where they stayed, any kind of structures, any magazines or shells or powder or anything out here. This is all that remains from 1899. The way these cannon mounts work is that they had a spotter with a compass would tell you where the enemy was, like on the beach, and yell back the coordinates back to the cannons, and they adjusted it with these devices here to get the right trajectory to hit the target out in the water. The way this worked, the soldiers would load the muzzle, put the powder in, and then they light a little torch, you know, like you see on a cannon. You light the torch, and then it just blows and sends the projectile out. Very dangerous procedure. Okay, I'm out here at Jekyll Island, the south end of Jekyll Island, and these are the Spanish-American War cannon mounts that were over here to defend the south end of the island between Cumberland Island and Jekyll Island to protect St. Andrews Sound. In 1898, the U.S. government, War Department, made a deal with the Jekyll Island Club to put 10-inch Parrott cannons over here, which are these from the Civil War era. And they were installed in 1898. The cannons were a lot closer to the beach then, because now they're 800 feet away, but due to erosion and sand moving, it's a lot further away. But the war was over after the Battle of Manila Bay. The Spanish were defeated, so they took the cannons out of here, the actual cannons themselves, on May 17th, 1898. Hauled them away. They haven't found any magazines or gunpowder, any kind of structures out here that people stayed in, because you know soldiers had to be out here to man them and fire them if they need to. But these cannons were part of the camps over there on St. Simons. This was basically an outpost. The north end and the south end down here were outposts to protect the other parts of the waterway. And they, part of Camp Gordon and Camp Barker, the Spanish-American War camps on St. Simons, this was just outposts. But both camps on St. Simons and Jekyll were destroyed by the hurricane in the late 1890s. So they just basically abandoned it because the war was over. And they just basically left the cannon mounts out here. And they think the ones on the north end are eroded away. Maybe lost to the sea, or maybe in the woods in there somewhere, who knows. But these were, the way these cannons work. Basically you had a spotter on the beach, which is straight ahead of us. The spotter would have a compass and tell you the directions. And then the artillery people would adjust these to the right height, the 200 and 100 pounder cannons, and fire at your target. They had to put the powder in there first, and then put the projectile. And at the end back here where a traditional cannon, vision what a cannon looked like. They had a little hole, you had to light the wick and put it in there, blew out the projectile and went straight ahead. These cannon mounts, these gun carriages from Civil War era, these 10-inch Parrott Civil War era cannons held 100 pounder and 200 pounder cannons. Those are huge. These were for seacoast artillery. They hit boats way out in the water. Like I said, the soldiers would have to put the gunpowder in. Then they had to put the projectile in, which is usually a cannonball or what they use, the new stuff they use, like the other cannons, kind of like a rifle cannon. They put it in there and they put the gunpowder in. Then the guy light the torch hole, and it blew the cannonball out into the water. Look at this. This is how it was built up on the concrete. You know, this had to be the higher area right here, because you had to have the high area to see the ocean from here. So this is pretty far away. All this has changed over time, since the 1890s. But you can look at this. Look at it. Still, it's rusted and a little worn, but still very sturdy. You got the bolts in here, and it's got still the mechanisms, the concrete. As we saw in Fort Pulaski, they had these 180-degree swivel strips on here, so you can move the cannon both ways. They got them on the other side as well, and that's the handle to turn it. But it looks like they had to put rods in there too. Same way with this one. You can't see the swivel on this one, but you can see the concrete where it's there. You can see a little bit of it right there. But just imagine how heavy these took many men to turn it, and turn these over the other way. But as you can tell, it looks like somebody might have done some digging out here. But this is out here with the Spanish-American cannon mounts out here at Jekyll Island, the ones used in the Spanish-American War. But if you get a chance, come out and see both of these cannon mounts out here. It's on a little trail off Macy Lane and St. Corner. Just follow that little trail there, and when you see the green sign, walk behind it and follow the trail. You run right into it, easy to find. Part of history, Spanish-American War, never fired probably except for in practice. But really, it's just interesting to see the cannon mounts over on Jekyll Island. Okay, Noah, what'd you think about the Spanish-American War cannon mounts? Do you think there's more stuff out here, probably in these woods under the ground, like from that time? They got this marker over here too. I wonder what it's for. Oh, they got that marker, like a survey marker. That's good. You can always find the cannon mounts if you find a survey marker. Right over there. Let's go. Let's go play some mini golf. You ready? Trail's only like so many feet. Not very far. It's easy to walk through. Basically probably one of the easiest trails on Jekyll Island to walk through. It's not too long either, so it's worth a find. And knowing that, see, we'll film the whole trail so you can see it. Okay, As you can tell, it goes up and down and around. But you see these berms out here everywhere. I wonder if they were built. You can see them. I hope you can see them on there, how it goes down. You can see it over there too, if this is part of the camp. Because you can see, let me duck down so you can see the height of them. But you can see the hill. I wonder if these were made during the Spanish-American War, because like earthworks like they like to do. Because they're everywhere. They're even over here. Kind of reminds you of the same earthworks at Fort Moore. But you can see them everywhere, the hills that goes down. Might be just natural water flow. Could have been part of the war strategy. Huh?
But where's the water?
Yeah, there's never any water back here. So I'm thinking these were done by the U.S. Army back then. Okay, we're still walking through the trail. You all right back there, Noah?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, look at that tree over there. That's a big tree too. It's just amazing how these berms, probably by wind and water, could be done by the military in the late 1800s, in the Civil War and all those different. They used them for different time periods. But we're about to come out. It's easy, real easy to find. And you come back to the green sign again, and you go back to where you parked. Over this way. I'm not sure if this is natural, all these berms and hills and all that, or this was done by the Spanish-American War encampment was over here, because you know they had to have like shelters and probably tents, because most of it was tents. They lived in tents, and they probably had some structures too, but they had to have stuff for their magazines and their powder and all that. But look, you just see the berms everywhere. This is on the trail to go to the Catamounts on Jekyll Island. See, you see this green sign down here that says Fire Break Road. You see it right there, and you can see the trail right behind it. You could actually see it and just follow it all the way to the Catamounts.